Sexual Selection by Tarek, Harrison, and Jacob. Selection is just one of the evolutionary forces, and it's also one of the most important. Natural selection, a term coined by Darwin and served as a crux to his theory of evolution, simply states that those organisms best suited for their environment are also the best suited to survive, reproduce, and ultimately pass on their genes. Environmental pressures, in other words, spur on the evolution of a population or species, but certain things remain unexplained under this theory, and so Darwin made a little embellishment to his on the origin of species, sexual selection. In terms of natural selection, it makes no sense to invest in and maintain heavy, cumbersome structures like antlers, manes, or long, colorful tails, all things which might get in the way of surviving. Reproducing, on the other hand, is a completely separate topic. Along with plain old selection, there was also now sexual selection, where mutations and nutrients could either now make or break the possibility of reproducing and passing on those traits. Under this added theory now, competition and selection from the opposite sex explains why things like manes and antlers came to evolve. A male with an only average brown tail to blow it out of proportion a little, compared to a male with an extraordinary blue-green tail, is a clear choice for a potential selecting female. But the question still remains why the sexes themselves are so different. Sexual dimorphism is a phenotypic difference between the sexes of the same species and the direct result of sexual selection. First, it's important to remember that just like sexual selection, selection plays its role on an evolutionary scale. Changes in size, behavior, and ornamentation, unfortunately, don't just happen overnight. Secondly, we as humans might sometimes take for granted what the physical differences between males and females are, not the same between species. What we know as female, for example, is not what lizards or birds know as female, and what we know as male is not what a lion or elk knows as male. In sexual selection in the majority of species, the fact that females tend to be the picky ones and the driving force behind intersexual selection between male and female, is based on a few pretty straightforward ideas. The same ideas carry over to answer why the situation isn't flipped and it's the male doing the selection. First, physically, females ultimately hold the key and determine who to mate with. Second, females invest much more energy in egg production than males do with sperm, and often in certain species invest far more energy in parenting and care. And lastly, looking at the macroscope, males by nature have to compete for females because of the availability of resources, eggs and sperm, but also because for the most part males look to pass on their genes while females look to produce the healthiest, most biologically successful offspring, and by extension look for the male who might offer the best genes. Stepping back from the muddied up example of humans, sexual selection is based on a male's ability to attract a female, whether it means investing loads of energy into size or ornamentation, like peacocks or lions, or whether it's defeating other males to get to her, like elk. In other words, sexual selection is split into two major forms: male-male competition, or female mate choice, and in some species the two go hand in hand. Impractical energy pits like manes, throat bulges, or antlers demonstrate the ability to invest tons of energy into these things, and demonstrate to the females that the male in particular had good genes and good sperm. That's sexual selection. The end.